All right, thank you for staying with us. And the conversation starts right now, and it's about the news coming from the National Assembly, especially the Green Chamber, that day talking about the House of Reps making a move to compel the president to give account of stewardship before laying the next budget, and that should be put into the constitution. So the bill is being debated right now. It's about seeking to provide that the president shall appear before each house of the National Assembly annually to present an account of his stewardship as president for the preceding year before presenting the budget estimate for the next financial year as scaled through the first reading of the floor of the House of Representatives as stipulated in the proposed constitutional amendment legislation. Members of the National Assembly who are unsatisfied with the president's performance in the preceding year may pass a vote of no confidence in him and commence the process for his impeachment. And the private member bill sponsored by the chairman of the House of Reps on Petroleum Resources Downstream, Honorable Ikenga Ugochinyere, seeks to alter Section 67 and 81 of the 1999 Constitution, respectively, to shed more light and then to look into what many persons have called these unholy alliance, especially between the legislative arm and the executive arm, which looks like that line that should not be crossed. The separation of power is fastly being eroded. And maybe this is what is being set straight again by this bill. We have been joined today by public affairs analyst and a lawyer, Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi. He joins us virtually. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good
morning,
morning.
sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much. And let me sincerely apologize for keeping you waiting. Thank you, sir. And let's start this way. Before we go to the nitty gritty of this particular context, what do you say has happened, to that line that should not be crossed? We're talking about the separation of powers, not just under this administration. It happened, and it was so evident, under the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari and the National Assembly led by Dr. Ahmed Lawan, who was the president of the Senate then, and Gbajabi Amila, who is now the chief of staff of the president. And many persons were not comfortable because it was like the alliance was too strange to be. And it seems that trajectory has continued. Barrister, many persons will say the last time we had a vibrant, National Assembly that will not just dance, to the tune of the executive was the one led by Dr. Bukola Saraki. But many persons will say maybe because of the politics involved. But what do you make of this unholy alliance between the National Assembly and the executive arm?
Well, basically, the National Assembly that we have now is like a parastatal of the executive. They just, fend their own nests personally, and the interest of the nation doesn't seem to count that much. As a matter of fact, there are several examples. One, the most notorious one, had to do with the changing of the national anthem. For some reason, maybe Tinubu had a bad dream and decided to change the national anthem. And they did it for him overnight. It was a real scandal. Of all the problems facing the nation, of all the headaches of the citizens on the street, national anthem was Tinubu's problem. And the National Assembly just got onto it. It is very clear that we don't have a legislature anymore. The oversight function is just like a bayonet to feather feather their own nests. Look, don't let's deceive ourselves anymore. We have been let down by the National Assembly. You remember one of the greatest scandals in the history of Nigeria, the 2.8 billion naira theft that was reported, was it not around year 1980? It was the Senate leader, Dr. Shola Saraki, that raised it before the entire nation caught fire with the issue. Today, Even if the president slaughters a dozen countrymen, I'm sure nobody in the Senate will raise any eyebrow, so long as it is not their own family. Look, we have lost it completely. This is no longer a democracy, whether you like it or not. In the last 4 years, America had Joe Biden as president. The people on the streets insisted they were not satisfied with his performance. And his vice president could not win the ticket and could not win the presidency. That is how a democracy behaves. There was no gunshot anywhere. There were no armed police all over the place. In Nigeria, they just go ahead and steal the votes. And we are all stunned. We are shell-shocked from telling the truth as it is. Look, to be honest, we are just out of line as a people and as a democracy. The issue you want to talk about today has to do with asking the president to come for a State of the Union address. They do it in the US, they do it in the UK. And they used to do it also in the Second Republic. But it is nothing serious. It's just a matter of the man getting into the box and telling you a lot of fabu, like he did during the last independence anniversary. He said, with the economy is doing great. They are borrowing loans every day. He said, this one is doing fine. It is not. Boko Haram has been defeated. The following day, dozens of people were killed, and so on and so forth. That is the kind of stuff they are going to be telling themselves because they are just one group. They are, look, forget about checking and balancing. For this kind of executive and for this kind of legislature, we just lost it. And some people equate it to military rule.
Would that be correct? Because the military rule is different from the democracy, even with all the flaws and challenges as we are seeing right now. And you clearly said this doesn't look like democracy, especially the separation of power. Now, looking into this particular context, and these being raised by the rep member Ugo Chinyere, who is who has brought that bill, and it has gone through the first reading, to say the president must be, every president, once is in our constitution, before you present a budget of the coming year, you must show the workings of the budget of the year running out and the budget performance, what you have done so far. Any person will say this is commendable and it should be a normal thing. It should be basic, not really like you have done something very extraordinary. But it seems, Barrister Ogunwusi, that you don't trust this crop of politicians, and I'm picking my word carefully, irrespective of the party, you don't trust them enough to deliver that. But one of them is saying this is what we should do. Shouldn't we give them the benefit of that?
No, there's no need to worry about giving anybody the benefit of that. And I will show you how.
All right.
When you go to deliver a budget speech, it is not just a statement of the expenditures and income coming in the ensuing year. You also give an overview of the performances of the economy and the polity in the previous year. That is how budgets are made, even in small companies. So what this Ugo Chinyere is doing is just hair splitting. That is already a character of every budget. But I think precisely he has in mind what I would call a State of the Union address. The kind of thing they do in the UK and the US. They call it King's Speech in the UK. They call it State of the Union in America. I believe that is what he's talking about. So they want to copy the cassock and leave the monk behind. We like copying things, but we just cherry pick. We have democracy, just elections. All the ingredients of democracy are missing in our own case now. They are not bothered about that. I think it is sheer waste of time. Ugo Chinyere is probably trying to help them fill in for lost time, because I don't really see the relevance of that, in all honesty. it is it's part of the budget capsule. How did the previous year go on, and how are we going to improve, and all the estimates and expectations for the new year. That is how budgets are made. It is part of the character of the budget. So I don't see any issue with that. What I find issue with is how do people go on ignoring what people are going through and still insist that they are working for these same people. Look, I never imagined that was possible anywhere in the world. And the budget, the president must come and address the National Assembly. But what if he does? What would the people on the street gain from that? Is that going to give you water to drink?
If I may butt in here, you know, what this bill seeks to do is, after that defense or presentation by the president, if the National Assembly finds that a loophole in that presentation, or they feel what the president has done with the last budget has not been justified, then they can pass a vote of no confidence in Mr. President and probably start up a process of impeachment of Mr. President. But if the National Assembly believes, the president has done well with his budget performance in the previous year, then they will pass a vote of confidence on Mr. President. So you still do not think this will change anything?
And if you do that today, what kind of vote do you think they will pass? Even if the president goes to the market and kills 12 school children, do you think they will pass a vote of no confidence in him?
That means you have you have no confidence whatsoever in this National Assembly.
Approximately so, no confidence at all.
Okay, amazing. Now, if you were to...
Okay. If you don't mind, maybe you deserve another corollary. Look at the most atrocious decisions of the National Assembly. Come and tell me, was there any time that any one of them, including Labour Party, stood up to say, look, this is not what the people on the streets are saying, except Senator Ndumi. Even the people we elected from our own constituencies, they'll go there and go to sleep and collect. Yes. And that is not why they are there. They are supposed to be critical. They are supposed to mount stumbling blocks on bad policies. Can you remember anybody in the National Assembly who does that? No. The assembly we have now is a parastatal of the federal executive. They just give them any shit and they pass it. Akpabio is there as the enforcer. When last was there a dissent on the floor of the House of Reps or of the Senate on serious topics? When last? When last was anything the president proposed? When last was it objected to or refused? When last? Do you think everybody thinks alike? I mean, the democracy is gone. It's just window dressing and name calling. If you are a dictator and you are wearing the Tinubu favors blue dress, you are wearing the sky blue dress of Bola Tinubu, but deep inside you are a dictator, there will be no difference between your government and a military government. People are so shell-shocked. They are stunned. They don't want to say anything at all. When people go on protest, you go and arrest school children. Are they even school children? You say they were carrying flags. People were already hungry. And then you lock them up and make them hungry again. Before people now shouted on the day of trial. And then they said the president has ordered. Why should the president not have known their situation before the scandal broke out? If he was interested. If that is really his job. Look, let's face reality. We love democracy. Many of us also love Tinubu, but we don't love the way the things are going on in this country. No.
So on that particular issue, I mean, let us digress a bit. Would you say the handlers of the government are causing more harm than good to the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Because, one may come up with the argument that the president cannot be everywhere, he cannot know everything. That's why he has aides, he has ministers, to attend to different issues. But it may seem that some handlers of the government are being too overzealous, and probably they were not carrying the president along.
Well, if he gave them the leeway to behave in certain ways, yes, he would get the results. If you let them know that the buck stops on your table, we didn't elect those people, we elected a president. He is the commander-in-chief. All sins are committed in his name. Have you seen where policemen tried to break down a riot before? In the name of the commander-in-chief, we ask you to disperse now. Why didn't they say in the name of Dapo Ogunwusi? Look, let's try and be realistic a little bit. This is the kind of government who always wanted, and that is what he is getting. If people know that he's a moderate, if people know that he would not tolerate certain kinds of behavior, they will adjust. They will adjust.
Okay.
But what we have today is what Tinubu wants.
You think
That's
so? Barrister Ogunwusi, are you still there?
Yeah. I'm there. I'm very much there.
Okay, so you said all we have today is all the president wants. So I asked you, you think so?
Yes, it does. Look, okay, who else are you going to hold responsible? Who else did you elect? Whether it is genuine elect or inverted comma elect.
So I'm saying that because, the president has always come out to say, I understand the pains the people are going through, but this is not where I want us to be. But we are in the process of getting to where we are supposed to be. Yeah. So it may seem like the president is not really happy with where we are right now. And this is not what he wants for the people. But according to him, it is like a labor process or a delivery process that we have to go through as a country to get to our destination.
So we are in the maternity ward.
Probably.
And I hope we have competent doctors. We have competent doctors and nurses to handle the delivery. Has he ever told you the character of that promised land that he said we are heading towards? Is it industrialization? Is it self-sufficiency in food production? Is it advancement in one field of technology or the other? And has he showed you the blueprint towards that direction? All you hear is, don't worry, things will get better. I think that's a summation of what you are talking about. Don't worry, things will get better. And people are dying of hunger. They are dying of diseases. You now have university lecturers who are also doubling as bus conductors just to make ends meet. That is, if you ever make the ends meet. I mean, look, you are so eager to mount up excuses on behalf of these people. But it is very easy to please the people of Nigeria. If you tell them where you are going, they will follow you. But have they really told you what that objective is? Have they told anybody that this is exactly what we want to achieve and this is the blueprint for it? No, they are just shaking up more money for themselves. Most of the money will end up as security votes in the pockets of some illicit governors. Hey, look.
All right. Because this is a family program, Barrister Ogunwusi, I'd like us to mind the use of language. In your previous submission, you used the S word, S-H-I-T. That wouldn't pass, just to put that there. And while you are trying to buttress
I apologize.
All right, right. And while you are trying to buttress your word, you talk about if the president will go on a killing spree of school children, nothing will happen. Why I understand the point you are trying to make, that might sound cold. We don't wish the president will go and attack.
Look, I've not come to a classroom, and I'm a venerated journalist.
Yes, I know.
I
sir.
don't want you to. I don't want you to go on that platform.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying because this is a family program. That might sound
hold
cold to some persons.
You asked me a question. Allow me to answer it.
You are.
I mean, it's like Kamala Harris and Fox News. Then are you trying to tell me what to say?
No.
If we are trying to show you the depth of the feelings of citizens, you have a duty to your listeners and to people watching.
And that's what we are doing right now.
To let them know what they feel. No. Don't go that way. I was a newspaper editor when some of you were probably nursery school students. Be careful with me.
All right. Fair enough. I'm not objecting your point, and neither am I saying you are not going to make those points.
That
we wanted you to speak to these issues. That's why we reach out to you. But let's move ahead.
Listen, I understand your role.
Okay.
Thank you. You want it to be as digestible as possible.
Yes,
exactly. For even the oppressor. No problem.
No, not the oppressor.
But you are not talking back. You use this word. You use that word. You use this word. You use that word.
We hold you.
Classroom.
Pastor Ogunwusi will say, we hold you and your thought in high esteem. That's why we usually reach out to you. Trust me. And we are not doing anything against that. But moving on, and we appreciate you.
I've not come to a classroom.
For always
the last time I was in a classroom, I was a teacher of journalism.
All right, sir.
I've not come to a classroom.
All right. And, the barrister Ugo Chinyere that has raised this particular point gave his reasons and, the alteration he's seeking. That, okay, because you said something that some of these things, they come with budget presentation, you stating what you have done so far and the economy how is doing with the last budget and some of these things. Now, he's saying we have to put this thing in the constitution so that people will not think they can do it if they wish, they might not do it if they wish, and some of these alterations. But, sir, with what is happening and, the distrust between the leaders at cross-party levels, legislature, the executive, with the people they are governing, one would say somebody must still, speak to these things. If we are to get it right, it's still somebody, some of these decision makers that will raise his hands and say, guys, can we please go through this route? If actually we have to have any change at all that we will all be proud of. That's why I said it. Somebody must start it. Shouldn't we just cut Rep. Ugo Chinyere some slack to say, maybe we are heading somewhere right? Somebody must do the leading.
No, I don't agree with that, please.
Okay.
It's just time wasting. It's just repetitive, and it will not achieve the correct objective with this kind of government in place. I mean, it's just window dressing. Let him come and address us for 1 hour. And then he gets there, he talks anything he likes and goes away. Would they ever make any vote of no confidence? Do you think anybody would vote against Tinubu in the National Assembly? I mean, why are we just wasting out? They don't have the freedom to execute this sort of thing. I mean, it's just structure and no form and no substance.
Barrister, are you saying we are stuck? Is that what you're saying? That we are helpless?
For now, yes. We are stuck. Yes.
So what should we do? The people, what should we do? If actually the people who have elected to speak for us at the green chamber, at the red chamber, it looks like they are not performing that function, especially the separation of power, principle of check and balancing. And should we just wait 4 years for the administration to run down and then you pick it up again? What can the people do? We should be able to do something.
Look, if I say what I feel now, you will take it up again and say I'm using improper language.
Please go ahead, sir.
We are stuck as a people for now. What we have is a military government run by people who are in civilian cassocks. Look, each time there is a protest, the government will bring out a set of its own hungry counter-protesters. and they will do as much damage as possible to the genuine protesters. So you can see that dictatorship has flourished completely as far as things are now. But be that as it may, I think at a point there will be a normalization of this crisis. Whatever that point will be, I cannot say. All I just know is that things cannot continue in perpetuity like this. No. If you look at the whole length of history, most of the revolutions that occurred started at unexpected moments. The Arab Spring, the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution. They were in societies where nobody expected any dissent or any substantial dissent. But people are already getting fed up. And that is worrisome because, look, as I'm talking to you like this, I may be one of the first victims. They just take a look at this, heavy set lawyer and they say he's one of the oppressors. And they just, deal with him straight away. It happened before in several societies. And that is why people like us have a duty to speak out.
Yeah.
In fact, the real oppressors may get away if there's a real serious blowout. They may even get away in their private jets. While they start to look at people who are riding jeeps, who are riding flashy cars, who may be innocent of the problem. And that exactly is what we should all speak to. We have a duty as the elite, as educated people who have had some privileges in life, to try and let them know that this situation cannot continue as it is. Instead, you have people begging them for favors, for little handouts, just to survive till the next day. Awolowo said it. He said, the rich will not sleep when the poor are hungry. I think we are already sleeping. And that is a real tragedy. I wish they would wake up one day and see themselves as a true government. And look, what is the job of a government? It is to secure the happiness of the highest number of people for the longest length of time. I don't see that happening at the moment. We just run a system with excuses. Don't worry. Maybe in power they will say, don't worry. Just don't worry, things are going to get better. Then sometimes they will give you pictures of people who are homeless in America and UK and everywhere. They say, you see, this poverty is not new all over the world. It's going on everywhere. They will be talking about societies where when you are jobless, there's an income for you. Where there is a treatment, some form of treatment for you when you are sick. I'm a beneficiary of that. Look, we're just throwing excuses at everything. And some of these things can be redressed. Some of these things can, be solved. Some of the problems can be solved. The entire northern part of the country has been lost. It is largely in the hands of bandits and all kinds of highwaymen. And that is the breadbasket of the country. And that is why you have all sorts of people of military age running down to the south, because that is the only place they can go without a visa. They cannot go to their farms. They will be killed by the bandits. Or even when they are not killed, much of the work they do, they have to pay the bandits in some sort of obnoxious taxation. And the army will be jogging around the problem. They will say there was an attack yesterday. There was an attack. Are you talking of another country?
Right.
This is Nigeria.
All right. Barrister Ogunwusi, you talked about the fact that these issues can be solved. So I'd like us to move to the solution. What would you consider the solutions to some or majority of these issues?
The solution is for the government to tell us what is the end product of what they are cooking. Why are people supposed to suffer this much? Look, If the Naira was $1,500 yesterday, and this morning it became $1,600, I mean, it became 1,600 Naira to the dollar. The government has stolen 100 Naira of every 1,500 that you had yesterday, because it is your purchasing power that suffers. And you have no way of redressing it. You just have to accept it. One day they will push it beyond 3,000 Naira, and people will still be earning 80,000 Naira like Seyi Makinde wants to pay, or 70,000 Naira like Tinubu wants to pay. Where do you go from here? That is the question they need to answer. What exactly do you want to achieve? Don't just say that Nigeria will be better one day. Rara. And don't talk to people who are literate like that. What is exactly the objective? Don't say there is an objective. Tell us what the objective is. Don't tell us there's a concept of a plan like Donald Trump. Tell us what the plan is and show us how you are moving towards it. The people in the northern part of Nigeria, the real government they know, are the armed militia all over the place. When are you going to remove that burden from them? If you are a genuine Nigerian government, it's not just a matter of saying it will be better. How will it be better? And when it is better, what will that better look like? People can, they can relate to that.
Okay.
Not that don't worry, things will get better. How?
Okay.
So if they solve that problem by telling the people that this is where we're going, it will make things much understandable.
Okay. So you mean to say that the government should show the people the bigger picture they are painting?
Exactly.
Yeah, so the people can be aware of where they are going. Let's move back to the National Assembly. What would you say is the cause of the silence by the opposition? Because some people say that the silence of the opposition in the National Assembly is deafening. You have also alluded to that fact this morning, that the opposition has somewhat been bought by the majority. Yes, the APC is the majority in the National Assembly, but when we have a cumulative of all the opposition, then we also have a handful of people that can actually say no to some policies brought by the executive. But it seems these people are so they are so worn, if I can put it that way. They don't speak up as they should, and the people are disappointed that the PDP, the Labour Party, the NNPP in the National Assembly, and not APGA, they are not doing what they're supposed to do.
Do you want me to tell you my fears?
Please do.
I think it is corruption.
How so?
I think it is corruption. Yes, I think it is corruption. Sleaze, stuff that you don't see with the ordinary eye. I think that is the problem. I think they are ensconced in their own personal acquisitions through the correct machinations of the government, of the executive. So it becomes unprofitable for them to do what they are supposed to do, to put it that way. I think it is corruption. There's nothing else to it.
Where does
I think it's a large-scale, widespread corruption that is going on in the National Assembly. And that is the only reason why anybody was elected. There was one Okada rider in Plateau State who was elected on the ticket of a Labour Party. I've not had one sentence from him since he got there. Maybe we should not think of such people anymore. And what of even the people who are wealthy before they got to the National Assembly? What do we hear from them? They ride about in flashy jeeps and just enjoy themselves. Sometimes you even wonder if these are the Nigerian government. Because it doesn't look
where
like
does
they are
that
Nigerians
leave the
at all.
people who believe, oh, Party A is not doing what they're supposed to do? So let's turn to Party B that can give us what we want. But it seems they are all birds of a feather. You know, there's no difference between 6 and half a dozen. So where does this keep or leave the people who really want the dividends of democracy?
There are two ways in which you can corrupt people. As a newspaper editor, I can tell you that. One way is if you are a willing accomplice. The other way is if you are an unwilling accomplice. When you have a government that is trigger happy, that can destroy your business and even destroy your life, you tend to think perhaps it is just more convenient to get whatever you can get and maybe use it for your constituents and see if it makes any difference. I think there are among them people who are in that kind of trap. But for God's sake, those such people don't need to be near politics at all. You mean that in a whole day, you won't get anything controversial, anything atrocious from any member of the National Assembly? That was not the situation between 1979 and 1983. I was old enough to know of all those stories. There used to be controversies every day, and the government was always on its toes. Things have changed. Everything is quiet. Everybody looks rich in Abuja. I mean, around the government.
Right.
I think it is corruption and probably a dosage of intimidation.
Yeah. Barrister, as we close home, let me ask you this, because this is a fear as well, especially from the younger generation and even some older generation, that irrespective of the political parties, the institutions of government, the political leaders across board, especially those in government before and some of them now, and the way they do things, the way they go about their business and explaining if they care some things that is happening without really taking action. We, in your own opinion, and you've been here for a long time, do we, right now, if somebody would say we're a conquered people, I'm talking about the governed, would that be true?
Probably that is my own phraseology because I've used it a number of times, both on social media and on probably this platform. I think we are conquered. I think we are completely surrounded. I think we are completely surrounded. We can only break out. And to break out, you need serious determination to call people to question. For God's sake, without violence. How that is possible, I don't know. Because violence does not end in the envisaged result. It's probably going to cause more problems. Okay, if you say Nigeria is in crisis now, economically, politically, and then you now go into violence, would investors come in? Would the dollar be automatically cheaper? Would the pounds be cheaper? Would petrol cost less? Very, very unlikely.
All right. So,
but people should have a new determination to call their leaders to question without violence. Because look, we don't have a labor union. The students' union have disappeared. All kinds of power centers that can coordinate any effective protest have been swallowed up by the current political class. So what you have, if there is violence, is that it will be so mindless that probably areas of the country will now be ruled by either some kinds of henchmen or some groups of armed youth, and so on and so forth. It will look very much like Somalia. And I pray against that because you don't know what will be the end result.
Barrister, yeah, if I may button, before we go, where does this leave the institutions of government? I'm not even talking about politicians now. The army, the police, especially the judiciary. That's one of your fortes as well. Because somebody, an institution somewhere, must still be able to rise above board and to question others. Now, if the legislative arm looks like proverbially they are in bed with the executive arm, shouldn't the judiciary be standing above board and people seeing them as the last hope of the common man, which they are often called?
Well, I will be honest with you.
Yes, please.
I think the judiciary has not lived up to expectation. And I think whoever drew this blueprint had all these things in mind. Who are the power centers? Labor or organized civil society to the right, then next after it, the judiciary, then the military, then the National Assembly. All these power centers are on one side. The only power center that is suffering is the masses on the street. But ironically, it is also the most powerful. Somehow, a formula may erupt that will make all of these power centers to sit up. What that formula will be, I don't know. But I think we're a conquered people.
Barrister Ogunwusi, yeah.
All these organizations are no longer fit for purpose.
Yes, sir. Now, I want to know, because we have been talking about people, institutions, arms of government being on one side. Who are the power mongers? Who are these people who you feel has kept everybody on their palm? Who are they? And what's the income?
I think Tinubu is a good student of power. He studied the Awolowo formula, how to use an effective media to propagate your interest. Then he improved upon it by being a major stakeholder in the media. And that was at the beginning of his political excursion. Then he also studied power at the federal level. He knows those institutions that are critical. He also knows those that may not be critical, but they are important. And then he has worked on all of them. He has done his homework. The only homework he has not done, and which nobody can do in these circumstances, is the people. They keep using blackmail. It's not our government that caused it. It's not our... If everything was all right, nobody will appoint you as president. It is because they expect you to come and make life better for them. Are you now telling us that, the problem didn't come from us? It now comes from you. You are responsible for the problems of the country because you have the exceeding authority and the right position to do something about it.
Right.
And instead of doing that, you killed the naira, you jacked up the pump price of fuel. Look, there's no subsidy. What they did was to introduce Nigerian crude oil, which they used to barter for imported products. And that was the Abacha format when they started importation of petroleum products. Nobody pays a penny to anybody. Then they make it all up as if it is money they are paying, and then they blackmail the citizens with it.
All right.
You see, one day, the prices of crude oil will drop. And I think it is going to drop with Donald Trump in power because the devil has its own use. When you don't have war in Ukraine, if the Middle East settles down, you can imagine that the pump price of crude oil will go down by 30–40%. And these people will still find it difficult to reduce the pump price in Nigeria.
All right, that's
because the Nigerian people don't know.
Barrister Ogunwusi, we are pressed for time and we have to go. That's a good place to end the conversation this morning. Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi, public affairs analyst and a lawyer. Thank you for your analysis this morning on the show, your submissions and thoughts. They are really duly appreciated here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, that's the show this morning, and that ends the show for the week also. It was a wonderful conversation with Barrister Dapo Ogunwusi.
Interesting one.
There was a particular statement that struck out for me where he says that the presidential aides and people, the handlers of the press of the government, all sins that they commit in the name of the president. So the president cannot distance or disassociate himself from those people, and that's why he has to be involved in every major decisions that these people roll out. That's the show. You can watch a recap of this particular show and the previous ones on our YouTube channel at Western Spring TV. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. We'll make a return next week, but there is Spring Trends right after this broadcast.
All right. Thank you very much for being with us all week. Femi Ojo is my name. God willing, we make a return next week. Until then, have a fantastic Owambe. Be responsible. God bless Nigeria. Bye.